Welcome to the Camps Bay Guy podcast, your go-to podcast for everything real estate related in Cape Town. Now, let's get into the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Camps Bay Guy podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have Saadiq Effendi on the show. Saadiq is not only a standout on the BBC show Listing Cape Town, but also the visionary founder behind Lionlead Real Estate. Saadiq, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. How have you been and what exciting things have you been up to lately?
What have I been up to? Still selling. I'm an agent and also working on a lot of things in the background. Working on, as I told you earlier, we're working on Santon. So that's another business that I opened up this year. Been really exciting with that, which brought about me all of a sudden wanting to franchise, right? So in the background, busy working on the franchise business, all these different contracts, all new things, like I've gone from an agent to selling property. Now, maybe in the new year, selling real estate companies. So that's what I've been working on in the background. Together with that, I've also been working on a training program, which we can chat about later.
Okay.
So in the background, working on the fundamentals, Yes. What I find is, I've had this business for 5 years, and in the 5 years, you get to observe your own business and other businesses and figure out, why is it that agents don't make it,
For sure.
The agents don't make it, number one, because it's commission-only based business, and not everyone's used to that. And my thing is that if agents are taught the fundamentals in the beginning and understand the systems and the processes with real estate, and they stick to it consistently, that no matter what, no matter who you are, everyone is a salesman and 100% you can make it. It's whether you have the willpower to stay in the game, whether it will make you successful or not. And I use an analogy of when I started in real estate. I worked at your brand as well.
Yeah.
And what happened is everyone was trying to poach me. When you start new in Cape Town, everyone's trying to chase you. And I said I can't move because I've not sold my first property. I haven't popped my cherry. And I believe that once I understood how it is to complete a cycle, that I would be able to repeat it over and over. And so I did. And that's what kind of made me successful. So the quicker you can get somebody to complete those cycles, whether it's a rental cycle or a sales cycle, and understand all the little, semantics that go in between, perhaps even holding their hand the first time, that they would be able to replicate it. So that's what I've been busy in the background. So running the holding company, which I've established, operating two real estate companies, and then starting the franchise business as well as the training program.
Amazing. I guess that's quite an interesting one, because franchising, you want to, obviously it's your brand. That's very strong, and Lionlead, it's a very strong brand. But then it's also, you have to have a blueprint for that person. Someone who has never been in real estate before, let's say they say, okay, I want to buy a real estate business. They don't necessarily want to become an agent, but they need to have a blueprint to how to run that 100%. Business. So, that must be quite an interesting process and quite a fun process, unpacking all of that.
100%.
Yeah. I wanted to quickly interrupt this episode to let you know that you can book a 30-minute meeting with me to discuss any of your real estate needs. Just click on the link in the description below and schedule your appointment. Now let's get into the show.
Understanding your business, like you say in a blueprint, what I've done is I've mapped the business in every way that you can. From how the cycles work. So we have them all jotted out on a whiteboard. And how the operations works of a business on a map. So, and how they both plug into each other. because you need to, with a franchise, have a manual of how to run the business. And that's what I've been writing. And let me tell you, you can pull your hair out because you're like, is it a chicken? Is it an egg? And, like which process goes first, which one goes last? And then I eventually had a think tank. So I had to get people externally to help me think more clearly of how the process needs to go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And Saadiq, let's start at the beginning. What sparked your interest in real estate? Was there a particular experience or early deal that made you realize this was your calling?
You know what? I always ask this about everyone when I interview them, and specifically later on when they're in the business, I always ask people the same question. What was your first selling experience? I think back to the days of when we had like market day at school. I don't know if you guys had that.
Yes, like with like cookies and whatever, and you had to sell cakes and whatever.
Or something.
Yeah.
And I quite like that. You could see quickly whose store sold out the most. And I mean, that was my first experience with like real selling. I mean, other things that we used to do as kids, I don't know if they still do it these days. We used to ask people if we could wash their cars and get paid for that, or mow their lawn, or anything around the house. And, back then, I mean, way back when people were open to that, knocking on the door, kids washing the car, they thought it was fun. There you go. Wow. And then specifically real estate, So if you match the selling part, when it comes to real estate, I think the first time I realized that I actually like design. So I'm a creative by nature. I've always been attracted to like art and beautiful things. Was actually when I did woodwork in high school. Okay, so one of the subjects was woodwork, grade 8. And one of the things that you had to do was technical drawings. Wow. And I quite loved that. I really enjoyed that. So amazing. I didn't think that I would become actually like a wood maker, or a joiner or something like that. No. What I wanted to study and what I applied for after school was actually to become a draftsman. Wow. And I applied at a college, got accepted. But then, when you're young, you make different decisions. And I went for another job, which was in a marketing company. It was actually like a home guide marketing, free to the client kind of a thing. And I never ended up studying the drafting. And then I just ended up working in human resources.
Yeah. So that's your background, obviously, before you went into real estate, was human resources. And how do you think that background helped you, coming into the real estate industry?
Human resources, I started out in a payroll department, so it's very much numbers driven. I've worked with a company that had up to like 2,500 employees. You constantly inserting data into the computer, capturing leaves. So accuracy is like of the utmost importance. As I made my way up in the payroll department, paying people, dealing with huge numbers, SARS, all these kind of other things, I was given an opportunity then to become an HR officer. And the HR officer component of that was the contractual side. So what was the, when you sign somebody up, the offer letter, then the contract, the basic conditions of employment. So I think if anything, it taught me process and procedure, but then also policy and procedure. Policy and procedure, is very strict in different industries. I was specifically in the hospitality industry. There's certain code of conduct that needs to be adhered to, a sectorial determination, and I had to learn all these things as I went along. If you relate that to real estate, is that, and again, specifically being in the hospitality industry, is that I came from 4-star and then 5-star hotels. So there's a certain way that you deal with people, from dealing with, like the one hotel that I worked at, from, people that's cleaning the toilets right to the CEO. They want reports, they want certain things. I also did employee benefits and company loans. And so again, dealing with people is like a thing. I think that it's a skill that you do learn. And I'd learned it for 8 years before I got into real estate. I had that opportunity. moving over to real estate and being at the same brand as you at the time, I struggled, to be honest, because, you know, my customer was the employees of the company. Like I say, from the bottom of the food chain right to the top. And it changed because now I had to sell.
Yeah.
My customer didn't come to me. I had to go find my customer. So that was the difference. And then understanding the different parts of the cycle, right? So you find your client, like the seller or landlord. You get the property. And I'll never forget, I asked my manager, like, so I have the property, the photos online, what do I do now? I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe somebody's just going to come to me and I didn't know, to be honest. Eventually I found out.
That's it. I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to our foreign exchange partner, Currencies Direct. If you need to move money in or out of South Africa, just let me know and I'll connect you with their expert team. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Kobus de Kock to discuss their services in more detail.
I would like to introduce our Forex partners, Currencies Direct. I'm currently seated with Kobus de Kock. What makes Currencies Direct stand out from other foreign exchange companies in South Africa?
I think we've got the global footprint, and the process of getting their funds here is as quick as a day. And we specialize in property.
Why is it beneficial to use a Forex company such as Currencies Direct when you're either bringing money in or taking money out of the country?
The process, the onboarding, and by onboarding I mean registration, is a very easy, customer-friendly process that they follow. The client has basically a private Forex dealer. I think that puts them at ease that they can actually speak to a person.
Thanks so much, Kobus. Really appreciate it. If you guys need any Forex help, please contact myself and I'll put you in touch with Kobus. And we really appreciate you guys being a part of the podcast.
Saadiq, what inspired you to launch your own real estate brokerage? Was there a pivotal moment or a vision that guided you in making this decision?
I think, you know, I worked for 6 months in the first agency, and, you know, all these real estate companies in South Africa are quite traditional in their way of doing things. And I think the most important thing was like the culture. So the first culture, like I said, was very traditional, was surrounded more with like older agents. The second company that I was in was a bit more younger, more dynamic, more sharp, and that's what attracted me to it. The reason why I wanted to start my own one is because I wanted to change the culture. So I'd seen the traditional way, I saw the young, new, fresh way, and I believed that there's another way. And I wanted to be like, let's say it, call a spade, my way. Again, by, you know, teaching people the fundamentals. You don't just throw fish in a tank and say swim, you know, like, I know you want to, but sometimes they're not a fish yet. They don't even know if they're a fish. And so my plan of starting my own company was, again, to have my own vision, my own mission, and my own values. You know what, and this is the truth, Josh, is it doesn't matter whether you're in real estate or whichever industry you're in. If your values don't align, it's difficult to give all of yourself. I can tell you now, when I'm committed to something, like when I was with your brand, my blood was blue. When I was with another brand, my blood was green. And you can ask anybody.
For sure.
In those specific companies, I gave it my absolute all. And then I decided that, you know, it was time for me to give my all to my own. Yeah. And then 100%. I would see the value, you know, and the vision come to life.
For sure. And it must have taken like quite a bit of courage to do that, because I'm sure a lot of people watching this, a lot of agents watching this, have probably thought about starting their own companies. I mean, that is the dream, to have your own company, but to actually go out there and, you know, put a stake in the ground and do it and start your own company. I mean, that must have been quite something. Like, can you talk us through how you navigated that? Because I mean, a lot of people probably start writing that business plan, start trying to, you know, putting the things in place, but then when it actually comes down to like make the decision and do it, you know, they're checking out. They're like, flip, I have the security of a big brand, I have this, I have that, and they're checking out. So what persuaded you to like do it? Obviously you've said you wanted your values and everything, but then actually making the decision, how did that come about?
Let me tell you this, is that when I was making the decision, there was a lot of different questions that I had. It was, do I buy a franchise from another company? Do I go work for another brand where I pay a desk fee? Because the whole point was that I was going to go work on my own and be on my own. And this is where the idea started of like how I was going to come to my name brand as well. So my idea was that I was just going to go work in a small office or even work from home, Josh. That was the honest truth of how this actually came about.
Wow.
And it didn't happen like that. So as I was making the decision to leave the company I was with at the time, this is when the thoughts of, and I'll be honest with you of how I came to the name, is like when I worked at Uber many years ago, as part of it, they did a lot of like brand awareness and brand, like how they got to the name and how cool it is. And, you know, I mean, there's the Uber cars now and all those kind of things. But I wanted it to be short, quick, rememberable. And one of the things that I thought about was like BlackBerry, Apple. It's got nothing to do with the item, you know?
Yeah.
And that is being sold, but yet it's so rememberable. And then in South Africa, what is the thing that people remember? And I did my homework. And so there was leapfrog and property fox. So they are animals that people respond well to. And I mean, gosh, I went through so many ideas. You know, as a creative, you like throwing things out and you're getting feedback. I mean, the first time I thought of the animal that I wanted was when I was in Namibia. And for the first time I saw oryx. And I thought, maybe oryx real estate. And then I tested it, made a whole brand concept. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like ready, hiring graphic designers, designing CI documents, everything, sending it out. And then I realized, like, you know, there's the Oryx Salt, and there's the Oryx Cleaning Company, and there's Oryx Mining, and there's Oryx everything. And I'm like, that's not unique. That's not going to work. Then I thought, okay, I lived in Springbok Road in Greenpoint, and I thought maybe Springbok. And then they were like, nah. You know, everyone's going to think I'm trying to copy Springboks. Yes, it's rememberable. It might have, you know, trademark issues, all those kind of things. Scrap that idea. And then we came up with, you know, like Lionhead or Lion's Head, the mountain. And then I said, if we say Lion's Head, then people's going to think it's only a Cape Town company. And I didn't want that. So I removed the S and then I called it Lionhead.
Okay.
On the first day that I opened, I had a trademark litigation suit.
Wow.
Yes. A company said that I took their name. It's definitely not unique. Lionlead Real Estate. And I was actually barred for trading for 3 months before I could actually start the company.
Wow.
So then I was laying in bed one night and I thought, like, how does it get to... how am I going to get to this? And then I changed the head, so the H into a L, and trademarked it and then told them. And that's how I got to actually establishing the brand.
Wow.
Then I remarketed that. And then randomly, like on Instagram, people reached out to me and asked me, can I come work for you? And I'm like, I just want to be a one-man band with my Lionhead, whatever company it is that I'm going to be. And that's just it. So I rented a small little office at that Hill House building where I met you for the first time, actually. On the ground floor. and I just branded it for myself. And then by the time that I had launched the company on, because you always launch online first. By the time that I actually opened the doors, I had 2 like agents working for me already.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Sure.
It's incredible, like the journey that happens, and you don't know who's looking and watching. And yeah, that was the start of Lionlead.
Wow. And look where it is now. How many agents are you now?
So we have about 30 in Cape Town and 30 employees in Cape Town and 5 in Johannesburg.
Wow. So it's not a small operation anymore. Wow.
Well, it's a lot right now, to be honest.
Sure. Wow. Amazing. And yeah, so I think I've covered that. How did your roles and responsibilities shift when you transitioned from being an agent to running your own real estate business? What were some of the biggest challenges you encountered during this transition?
Let me tell you. So again, I come back to your previous question as well that you asked, is I had no idea to run a business, like no cooking clue, to be honest. I done so well at my previous company, and that's all I relied on. Like I could rely on myself in the fact that I could close deals and make sales. I was good at marketing. I built a personal brand for myself, and that's all I had going for me. I had a personal brand. People knew me in my market. I had market share. That's what I relied on. And then going on from that, I had to learn new skills. You are flying a plane, you are learning how to fly the plane, and you're building it at the same time. It's like so many things at once. And then, like I told you, there was a little bit of like litigation. Never did I think that on the first day of opening a company would somebody sue me, and I had to learn with like litigation. This is the thing, like when you get into the like real world and the business world, like you need to put on like like the goggles really quickly, because otherwise if you walk with the wool over your eyes and you think like it's easy, it's absolutely not. There's so much compliance and red tape in this country in terms of getting where you need to be. And I understand it. Like, it's important. Like, I don't want, previously when it was unregulated, people's trust fund monies were flying off the shelf, So I get that. But in terms of, trying to get the actual things like FFC certificates or, for the company or for the employees or, making sure I didn't know anything about like where to submit taxes and, you need auditors and you need I didn't know all that stuff. The company took care of all that stuff, like I said, you have to learn accounting systems, you have to learn, but that was exciting though. I must be honest, that was so exciting. And no matter what, even though my thunder was stolen on the first day of opening my business, I think there is definitely an excitement of starting a brand new business. It's kind of like a rush where you're figuring things out. There's that newness, and then seeing things work, like you trying something and it's working. And let me tell you, sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes you try something and you try it again and you try it again. But at some point, you got to figure it out, right?
For sure.
And to be honest with you, it comes at a hell of an expense, though. The thing is, because I would say that I never really had a mentor to show me what to do, I was figuring it out by myself. And luckily, I do have people that I could call on in the industry to ask for help. And that's very important, that you can call other principals and be, open cards. Like, listen, I'm trying to do this. Am I doing it correctly? There are people that will help you, and there's some people that won't. but there are good people out there, and there has been people that have helped me to get me where I am right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that comes back to, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, you got to go together. And having the courage to actually pick up, I mean, a lot of us are scared to ask for help.
Yeah.
Having the courage to pick up the phone, ask somebody for help is amazing. And yeah, that's that's a breath of fresh air, especially in the industry we're in and the place we're in, where you kind of almost feel like everybody's trying to get one over on each other because we're all fighting for so much business.
Yeah.
That's a breath of fresh air. And as a business owner, were there any defining moments or lessons that have significantly influenced your leadership style today?
Significant moments that changed my leadership style. Yeah, I haven't really thought about my leadership style. My leadership style, I would say, is laissez-faire. And it never happened in my business. It happened to me. It's when I worked at one of the hotels, and my manager at the time didn't need to give me any attention, but she did. She saw something in me, and so and pushed me and elevated me to the best version of myself. And I didn't really know it until I knew it. And so my leadership style is to do that, is to try and bring the best out in somebody. And it gives me joy, absolute joy, to teach people real estate and help them learn a skill that will stand the test of time, selling. Whether it's real estate or socks or, I don't know, maybe you want to make cookies, I don't know. And from a leadership, like even looking over them, I like, if you want to do whatever you want to do during the day, because people tell you that they're doing this, they're doing that. At the end of the day, it's in your results,
Sure.
So I have a laissez-faire management style in a way. But at the end of the day, people are all adults. They know what they need to do. If you don't do what you say you're going to do, then that's on you. But that's
and I guess in the real estate industry, if the results aren't coming, then you can tell somebody isn't really doing what they said they were going to do.
Exactly.
Unless they don't have the right skills, then they're not gonna get
100%.
there. So I guess giving them those skills and then letting them fly and challenging them, I think that's also where you get the best out of people. When you challenge someone to be better than who they are currently, that's when people like challenges.
Yeah, so one of the things that have I would say that has kept me going since the test of my time is having a vision, Josh. You have to have a vision.
Yeah.
I don't come from much, to be honest with you. I come from a very middle class background, right? I never went to a private school. I never went to UCT, or any of the big universities. It was only much later on in my life that I got a bursary for that. So I would say that, I've worked really hard to get where I am. And yes, I've had the privilege of having mentors or people see my potential because I've pushed harder than everyone else. And gave me the guiding light to be like, okay, we see something in you. We're going to help you. Your willingness, your eagerness, your drive, your passion, I see it, and I will help you. And I feel like that lacks in people today.
Yeah. No,
because
I do see that.
Wants everything quick. They live in a life of instant gratification. Everybody's got a big vision, but like there's a lot of steps that needs to be done before you get there. And I think I grew up with delayed gratification, where everything wasn't given instantly to me. And so, and it's different, right? So as you get, as you grow older and you become more successful, sometimes it does become a little bit more instant.
Yeah.
But understanding that, this game is like snakes and ladders. You win today, you get a big paycheck, but tomorrow you got to pick up the phone again, right?
Yeah, and it's you're only as good as your last sale, eh?
100%.
That's it. And I like what you said there about delayed gratification. And today's, it's not everybody.
No.
You get your unique person that is willing to work for it. And I think that's that's also why a lot of young people probably don't want to go into the real estate industry, because they want that paycheck every month. They want the security.
I know.
And they don't realize, if you can wait 3 or 4 months for that paycheck, it's probably going to be 6 months of what you could have earned if you were working that job, but they weren't willing to sacrifice and delay the gratification. So that's why real estate agents are unique, eh?
Definitely.
And can you tell me about your Predator program and what it takes to become a Lionlead agent? What distinguishes those who excel in the program from the rest?
So again, like I told you, it comes down to having a vision, because when I interview people for the Predator program, I ask them straight up, like, did you watch Selling Sunset? So like, any of these shows, and that's why you're here, or why are you here? Like, what is it that you want to actually achieve? And then my question is like, what is your vision? What's your long term? Again, if people think that you can just walk into real estate, because it doesn't really work like that. You don't really walk in, get on the phone, call someone, get a listing, and sell. It just doesn't work like that. No. There's a lot of things that needs to be done, and skills that you need to learn along the way. And I mean, in an interview, anyone can like tell you what you want to hear, right? Some people are either good at it or not. The thing is, can you prove it? That's the difference. Because in my HR role and in this role, I've interviewed many people, and I've seen people with huge egos, and and I've seen people with like low self-esteem, as an example. And somehow some people can, like surprise you. It's often the ones that you don't think that surprise you in this game. So people get to sign up to the program. It is a paid thing. Okay. So at the end of the day, my question is, would you fit into the culture of this business? And am I going to waste my time with you? I'm not going to waste my time, because it's a whole month and I'm teaching all day, the whole day for a month. There's no ways I'm going to waste my time on somebody that I don't think is going to make it, even though you're paying me. So we've had 3 programs before where it was not paid. We've had some successful agents, which have subsequently been stolen by other agencies. Wow. So I'm glad that we are known as the fundamental training for other agencies, but that's totally fine. Yeah. Some have stayed and they've gone on to do really well. So this new program that's been paid, those agents are also doing well. And whilst I'm not taking in like 30 people, it's between 5 to 10 slots. Wow. 5 to 10 slots. It's easier for me to manage to sit with 5 people, teach them what to do. I'm on the ground with them. I'm walking the streets with them. I'm dropping flyers with them. I am calling with them. I am teaching them systems. I'm doing the evaluations. Again, even if you like, let me tell you one thing that I know absolute certain. If you sit anybody down today and you ask them, what's your vision? And you'll hear very quickly people start hopping bubbles. They're like, oh, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do this. And I get the vision clear. Yeah. I think that's like my purpose, is to help realign people and their purpose. Yeah. And somehow real estate is part of that. Like real estate is the vehicle for you to get to that dream. Yes. And whether it's for, a reason, a season, or a lifetime, that is up to you. I'm teaching you the skills. You can use it for now, but honestly and truly is realign people with that. And and to be honest with you, when people leave, anybody that's left my company, this I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, is that everybody has left in a better place.
Wow.
Whether
That's
they left on
amazing.
good terms or bad terms, they've left in a better place. I've left them in a better place.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And when you talk about vision, I mean, that's like the fundamentals of personal growth, you know,
Yes.
like Think and Grow Rich. It's all about having that bold vision and, you know, visualization, affirmations, all that stuff is all about getting excited about that vision and having absolute clarity. If you don't have clarity, you're not going anywhere. So if you can teach someone that, that's the fundamentals of teaching them how to grow as a person and get to where they want to go in life. So that's quite an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And they'll find the way. I'd like to take a moment to introduce one of my sponsors, Van Zyl Kruger Attorneys. Throughout my career as an agent, I've exclusively worked with Van Zyl Kruger Attorneys, and they have never let me down. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with their director, Eberhard Kruger, to discuss what makes them so exceptional.
Thanks so much for meeting me today. For those of you that don't know, Eberhard is the director of Van Zyl Kruger Attorneys. What makes Van Zyl Kruger Attorneys stand out from other conveyancing firms or legal firms?
Hello Josh, thank you for the opportunity. Property, which is the majority of our services. It's an emotional ride for most people, and it's the biggest transaction they'll probably conclude in their life. So whether it's a 100,000 rand transfer or 100 million rand transfer, we try to treat each client the same and make it a special experience for them.
What other services do you offer your clients at Van Zyl Kruger?
We do a bit of everything, to be quite honest. We do litigation, civil, criminal, commercial, a wide range of services. There's pretty much everything that we do, or someone inside that specializes in it. So we try to help every single client that walks through the doors.
Eberhard, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you very much for chatting to me, Josh, and good luck with your career, my man.
Sure.
So how has personal branding played a role in your success in such a competitive real estate market? What specific strategies have you used to set yourself apart from other agents or agencies in the industry?
When I first started out, I tried crazy things. Like my first things were balloons. So at every show day, I would have a balloon, like a massive bunch of balloons tied to my car. Then I tried umbrellas.
Wow.
Like I had a whole bunch of color umbrellas like lined up on a show house. I don't know how they allowed it, but I did it anyways. Like they say, it's easy to ask for forgiveness, right?
That's it.
Like umbrellas along the fence of of sectional title blocks. Again, collaborating with agents. And then, to be honest, it was just pure selling.
Yeah.
Pure selling. At some point in time, when I worked for my previous brand, I had a 40% market share, and I was nobody before that. I remember I didn't grow up on the Atlantic seaboard. I never went to school here. I know no one.
Sure.
And all I did was hard graft. I was cold calling all day, every day. And what I did with social media was create a brand, a personal character first. I was the guy known with the bow ties.
Okay, wow.
I have
didn't
big
know
hair,
that.
and I had bow ties, and I had lapel pins. I created a character for myself.
Wow.
And people knew me for that. So I made myself stand out.
Sure.
Of course, you evolve as you get older, and you grow out of that character, and you get a new character. So that's what I did. So I did anything and everything that was outstanding to grab people's attention.
Sure.
And then the conversation that we had earlier about social media was it wasn't the properties that I put online that caught the attention of people. It was the sold stuff. So the fact that all they just saw was, damn, you sold again, you sold again, you sold again. At my previous company, I think the most sales that I sold was either 6 or 8 or 6 properties in 1 month.
Wow. It's amazing.
And again, that catches the attention of people. Having 40% market share, catches people's attention. And the thing is, it doesn't matter whether people know that or not. It's the fact that you know that and that you've done it. Like,
wow.
it's a hell of a job to be able to take market share away from, companies that have been established for over 50 years,
Sure.
in a new brand. Because I was also in a new brand.
Yes.
Everybody in that area knew my name. I did crazy stuff. Let me tell you, there was a time where I bought thousands of flash drives. I mean, back then I didn't really understand social media. I mean, just in the beginning, I loaded all my listings, including like a little card of myself, on flash drives and dropped it in people's mailboxes. I used to do magazine drops at every single house. I would print little stickers and put them on the magazines and drop them in the box.
Sure.
Like, I walked the streets, people knew me. Like, when I walked, I would use the Atlantic Sun to, the front ad on there.
Okay.
So everybody knew me.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. At the time when I started my own company, I used my existing client base to start my company. My loyal clients came with me, and then that's how I could begin.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That like when you're willing to not only put yourself on the line, but put your own money on the line as
This
well.
is
Like
what I'm saying.
getting flash drives and magazines and
I
paying for umbrellas.
Josh, I gave away Le Creuset pots. I gave away, I would go to Clicks and buy that whole table of those cosmetic things, perfumes and all their things. I don't know, sorbets and whatever. I would give away thousands of rands. I gave away braais. I gave away
Sure.
that number. That took my social media, specifically that Lionlead Facebook page, to the next level.
Wow.
And the thing is, you can't buy people, right? So
Yes.
I've checked this out. It needs to be authentic. I've seen other companies try and be excessive in the giveaway. So it needs to be within people's reach. If people don't believe it, they're not going to get it. And so as an example, I'll give an example. So yes, the lotto is an amazing thing, and maybe it's going to be 50 million or 100 million and one person's going to win it. But when it's not the lotto and you're not really invested, right? So when you buy a ticket, you are invested. If it's on Facebook and you might win R1 million, what's the odds, right? So the likelihood that people participate is not there. And then I measured the performance myself of company X, and it didn't actually bring in the numbers that they thought.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think when it's more within people's reach and people smaller prizes or smaller giveaways, it's much more effective.
For sure. So something, if you want to do a giveaway, it needs to be something small, but something still of good value and
quality.
And people will respond.
So do more with
smaller, less with that budget, that same big budget, do a few small ones.
Yes.
And you can test it as well.
Yes.
Quite nice.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's just been my
something.
trial and error in social media. And I haven't run them in a while. I used to I love giving stuff away. I love it. I love giving away money, prizes, whatever. And like I say, I haven't been focused on that because I'm running. There's so many other things, as a business owner, different hats that you have to wear. I grew the social media into what it is right now. Could be a lot better, but I'm going to teach somebody else to do that now.
For sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's what you got to do if you want to scale. And given the success of your personal brand, how do you stay ahead of trends and continue to innovate to maintain your edge in the real estate industry?
I always attend as many events as possible. So all these like real estate industry summit stuff. I read a lot of what's happening. So, like in the newspapers, but also I know what's happening in the industry in terms of what new buildings are coming up. I know architects, town planners. It's very important to know these people because they can tell you what's happening in the market. And again, like you could do your own market research based on, like past behavior. Like, you go to CMA, you could see, okay, this area is trading like this area is trading like that. But yeah, definitely it contributes to the bigger picture. You need to have, as a business owner, you have to have a holistic picture of the real estate market. And I would say I'm an optimist. And yes, you could be an optimist if the market's like dying and, like people are not buying and interest rates are going up. That's nice. But optimism is also needed as fuel to keep you going, when it seems like the candle's going out. Because you need to motivate people, whether it's, the agents, but also motivate buyers and motivate sellers to sell. Because otherwise, there just won't be anything.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%. And, what goes up must come down, and what goes down must come up again.
100%,
so
it's a cycle.
Interest rates are probably going to come down, hopefully.
It will.
So, I think we're in for an interesting end of the year in 2025. It
agree.
Could be quite an interesting. What are your views on the market at the moment?
So right now the market has definitely picked up. In Cape Town, we started seeing sort of like early inquiries on properties, and even like in the higher price brackets that we weren't seeing. So price brackets before was between 0 and I would say 2 million, just over 2 million. Now we're seeing the 5-6 million coming back, and these people are actually very clever, to be honest, because they are still able to get properties at lower prices and negotiate. Once the market turns, it's going to be a seller's market, and the seller will be able to command the price.
For sure.
This is what people don't really realize. It's like right now the buyers are in control. Okay, they can command the market in terms of what they are willing to pay because they are sitting with a checkbook. Once that market changes, and I've been in that market, Josh, I've been in I started in 2015, and I saw the market rise 30% year on year. Wow. It was mental. And people I'll give an example of a property, right? Like insane. This guy bought an apartment for 2.2 million, right?
Sure.
Did absolutely nothing to it. The next following year, he sold it, right, for 3.9 million. By doing absolutely nothing to it.
Wow, just because of where the market was and the demand for property was so high.
And that, I could tell you now, when the Cape Town market turns, it's vicious. Wow. It's vicious. And what I honestly think is going to happen is like the Cape Town is the capital of property. Like there's no doubt about it. We are the only city, and it's with no disrespect to the other cities, we are the only city that is working and you can walk in it and it is safe. Developers are investing at a rapid rate. Foreigners are buying at a rapid rate. It's a beautiful city, and I can understand why everybody wants to be here. So I honestly think over the next 10 years, like Cape Town's going to turn into something else.
Yeah. The skyline, everything is going to be...
Definitely.
Yeah, and there's just nowhere to build as well anymore. So it's like, where do they go? It's either if you're a developer, you've either got to buy like a few old houses in a row, and if you want to build like a high rise or something, or you gotta, I don't know what you do really, because
you know what I thought about?
Much land.
You know what I thought about is like each property in Cape Town is zoned a specific, zoning.
Yeah.
Imagine we could plug the zoning into AI, right? And we told AI, generate a city with all the zoning into its max.
At its max. Sure.
Imagine what that would look like.
Wow. Yeah, no, that'd be...
Or maybe they'll
crazy.
change the zoning scheme.
They may, because we're going to run out of space for people to live, but then infrastructure as well. It's like, how does infrastructure, you got to build new highways, you've got to build...
It's coming. It's
yeah,
coming.
transport. Yeah, it's an exciting time to be in Cape Town.
Definitely.
Yeah, especially as a real estate agent.
Definitely.
And since your appearance on Listing Cape Town, how has your career and life evolved? Have you encountered any unexpected opportunities or challenges as a result? And how have they impacted your work?
So I would say that it definitely brought more recognition to me. So from a personal brand point of view, you know, I would be walking in the street and someone would be like, hey, aren't you the guy from Listing Cape Town? Or at dinner, you know, or at the airport.
Wow.
Has it brought me business as in, you know, somebody from Clifton's calling me to sell their property? No, to be honest.
Sure.
I think like I explained to you previously is that more agents have recognized the work that I've done and have commended me. Like they've complimented me and they're like, you know, I really enjoyed watching you on the show. This is the type of work that I want to do. And I didn't realize that it would have an impact like that. I mean, Josh, I can't see myself as a third person. It's weird, right? Like,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
like you can't see, you think you are acting and behaving a specific way, right? But when
Yes.
somebody's viewing you from the outside, it's very different, right? And you
Sure.
can watch yourself on TV over and over. It's just,
Wow.
you know what I mean? So, like, it's not like I'm saying, like, I don't see what they see. It's just for me, it's normal.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
just
know if that-
become a natural.
do-
It's become like a natural thing for you.
This is what I'm
to
saying.
Do, yeah.
So,
Sure.
so understand that, you know, like if you compare it to, you know, the international shows, I mean, some shows can be so cheesy, so cheesy and so like put on. Like I say, I don't know how the show. I can't tell from my side, but I obviously did my best on being on that show.
Sure.
But yeah, if it inspires people to become real estate agents, fantastic. If it's for people to dream to buy those magnificent homes, fantastic. So the show is an aspirational thing, you know. It's to like, what you know. Before there was one TV show in South Africa that everyone tuned into to be able to see these magnificent homes, and I mean, I would love to show more other homes, like homes that's maybe not on the Atlantic seaboard, that's anywhere, but it's like creative. I don't know if you like watched, you know, these international shows where they do like masterpieces where they show design. I love that.
Grand design.
Yes,
like
that's
where they
it.
build the home and you
Yes.
see the piece of land. And
Yes.
Yeah, that's good fun.
That excites me to death. Like, honestly, like if there's anything, like the ideas that people come up with is just insane.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to do. And it doesn't need to be these grandiose houses. Let me tell you what really excites me.
Okay.
I go see lots of apartments. And for me, seeing a studio where somebody has cleverly designed things, like how to store, how to pack, how the bed moves, or how the, you know, and like, you know, it's actually really difficult to put everything in a small space. You know, when you have a masterpiece home, you design around that, right? So you're saying, I want the cinema room and I want the gym and I want, like, try and shove that all into a studio. Okay, so that's not going to work. And people do absolutely incredible things. And I've seen it in Cape Town now.
Yeah.
If you go onto Airbnb and you go and look at some of the apartments that's on there, people have spent crazy cash on it. And I understand that, you know, like they wanted to stand out. But I'm saying like where people live, my whole thing is like, it's something I discovered like it's, in real estate. It's like your environment where you live is supposed to inspire you.
For sure.
Like when you wake up in the morning, you must be excited for the fact that you have this beautiful painting as an example, or I don't know, just the way things are set up, like, you know, fresh flowers. I don't know, you know, people use as an example, like their lounge as an example to express how they are. And that's what excites me. Sometimes going into a magnificent home designed by the most famous architect, that's like just like, with no disrespect, like a splurge of money. Because somebody else has come up with the design, some interior designer has gone in there, but I'm talking about like owners taking it upon themselves to like be part of the creative process, and you can feel like it's part of their creative expression. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, when you're walking through the home and they tell you, we did this over here because we like this. We love rugby, so we put this in because we love watching rugby, or our kids wanted the, I love that.
Yes. And you can feel it.
Property, it's such an emotional thing, and I think that's what draws me to selling residential property is you know, when you can feel that emotion. You see a buyer walking, or you see you're seeing a home for the first time. Someone called you and they want to sell their home, and you walk in there and you can feel the emotion, and the seller is walking you through with such passion, and we did this here because we love X thing or rugby or whatever. And it's just, that is what I love. That is what I love. And just seeing those stories around that property and that character, and then some buyer walks in, and you see and you can feel that energy 100%. And that emotion. So it's a special thing.
To be honest with you, Josh, it's actually your job to move that same emotion. That's what selling actually is. So that same passion and enthusiasm that owner has, that seller, is the same vision, is that you need to sell to the new buyer. You know, like, this is, you can see yourself in this. This is the reason, you know, like maybe this is a beautiful like sports bar that's in the home, and they can see themselves because maybe that's one of their tick box items. You know?
And I think that's where a lot of agents get stale, because they walk into a property, and I think I've been a culprit of this. You know, when you get into when you've been showing 10, you've shown 5 properties in a day, and you just walk in, oh, there's the dishwasher, there's this, and people can see where the dishwasher is. People can see where the stove is, you know.
They can.
Let them walk in and feel the space. And if you need to point out a special elements of the property, but I think I'm more of a passive seller. I like to let the person walk in and like get the feeling, and then I can like say, oh, and this piece of marble had to be hoisted up in a crane, and this, you know, that sort of thing. And like telling the stories, that's my way of selling, I think.
Great way of selling.
Although you're still early in your career, what advice would you give to younger agents looking to succeed in real estate? Are there any strategies or mindsets that have been particularly valuable for you?
Yes, I would say stick to your daily activities. You know, to be honest with you, I say that, you know, I've been in the industry for 10 years now. And if you stick to the fundamentals, I think the number one fundamental is have a diary and plan your day.
Yeah.
Everything else, don't worry about, but your next day needs to be planned. And whatever appointment you didn't do, try and catch up on that. Because, and one thing you cannot neglect on that calendar is cold calling.
Yeah.
All day, every day. Like
100%.
That's what you need to do. Because what happens is, okay, this came up, but you know, I'm gonna go do drops, and I'm gonna go do this, and I'm gonna go do that, and the thing that you like the least, which is cold calling, is the one that gets shifted to tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I'm gonna do 5, and then somebody yells at me, and then actually, I'm not gonna do it tomorrow. And then we put it off, but then we get one listing, and I will stop calling because we have one listing and we're working on that one thing. Yeah. And you're trying to close one thing and you're relying on that one thing to close. Then it doesn't work out so much because somebody's faster than you and they close the deal. And then you only have that one prospect.
Yeah. And then you're left with nothing. And I think we learned that a lot of new agents learn that the hard way. But
so if you do not plan, you are not going to get anywhere. having a diary, whether electronic or manual, knowing what your plan is, what's your roadmap for the day, understanding, tracking your numbers, right? So I made 20 calls, nothing happened. Clearly, you need to increase your calls.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then if you did 20 calls in 1 hour, okay, well, you got to do 30 calls in 1 hour then.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're only using 1 hour, or, okay, maybe we should dedicate 2 hours. So you cannot do the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome, right? So if you're not tracking and measuring what you're doing, you're wasting your time. And yes, like I say, 10 years later, you can, you know, I'll give an example of something that I do. So something that I teach people in the Predator program, when somebody says yes, you go print that CMA or Lightstone report, you print it out. Yes, you unfortunately have to go kill a tree, print it out, and you create the follow-up file.
Okay,
so you have a Jan to December, and you call the person now, you go put it 3 months later.
Wow.
3 months later, you call that person again, and you say, I called you 3 months later on this date. Your computer, Josh, to be honest, is a big black hole. Your phone is a big black hole. Your beautiful book where you take all your notes in is a big black hole. But that follow-up file is not.
Wow.
Because when you're in January and you get to March, your work is already set out for you in March.
Yeah.
All your notes is on there, because when you've dialed the 1,000 call, do you remember what you said to Josh on day this in Jan? No, you're not.
Sure.
So that's an example. And then, I mean, like I say, as you gain more experience, I can remember the conversation I had with a person, as an example, in Hilly Hutchinson Road. I can remember the conversation I had, and they're like, this is how much they want. Okay, now a client comes up to me, and they're like, oh, this is what I want. And I'm like, okay. I remember this person had this conversation with me. This is what the person wants. I'm listening to them. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what they want. And then I saw, like, that's how you sell.
Wow.
But it takes time to get there.
Yeah, to know exactly what that client wants and
what the other client has.
Sure.
But in the beginning, and then doing the evaluations and go, because now you had the conversation. You haven't even seen the person. You haven't met them. You haven't seen the property. So your connection gets deeper. The map in your mind gets deeper of the person and the valuation. Now you're seeing the property, you're taking photos, you know, maybe it didn't sell, you took it off the market. And then a year later, you're like, by the way, Josh, would you like to sell your property again? You know, like, should we try this? Or why don't we try and rent it out? Or you get what I'm saying? But you have to slowly build that, like, indexing of your mind. Like, okay, so follow up. And eventually those clients, you know, the service that you provide those clients, the ones that you sell for, number one, and the people that buy from you is the most important. Because 10 years later, I'm not saying this, and please don't take this, like, I don't cold call anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like,
no, well,
all my clients are calling me to sell now. Like, the ones that I sold 10 years ago.
For sure.
Yeah. And sometimes at a loss, unfortunately, they bought in the height of the market. You know, 2015, 16, 17, 18 was the peak of the market on the Atlantic seaboard. And some of them for huge profits.
I would like to take a moment to introduce one of my sponsors, Harcourts Real Estate. As many of you know, I've been an agent at Harcourts for just over 3 years. And it has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. What truly sets Harcourts apart is culture, as well as the commitment to growth and innovation, both in technology and client interactions. The management team at Harcourts continually seeks to enhance the client experience and make our jobs as agents more efficient and effective. Thanks to Harcourt's incredible support, I've gone from a rookie to joining the Blue Circle Society, an elite group reserved for the top 10 agents in the company each year, within the short space of 3 years. This achievement is no small feat and is a testament to the backing and resources Harcourts has provided me with, allowing me to grow my own brand, the Camps Bay guy within the company. The training I've received at Harcourts has helped me become a distinguished luxury sales agent along the Atlantic seaboard. Some of my achievements include the highest sectional title sales in Mooley Point and Greenpoint for 2023. The company culture at Harcourts has fostered a dedication within me to cultivate enduring relationships with my clients, consistently delivering outstanding outcomes for them. I want to extend a huge thank you to Harcourts for partnering with me and sponsoring the Camps Bay Guy podcast. If you would like to find out more about our amazing company, follow the link in the description below. No, that's what you want. That's a sustainable real estate business.
Yeah.
When you can eventually not cold call and you can rely on your referrals and your past clients and your network, because you've given them such good service, they come back to you and you've stayed in contact with them.
That's client retention.
That's it. And that's the key to success, because you don't want to be cold calling for your whole career.
No.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, like I explained to you, it's like I'm not afraid to cold call. Like I've had so many rejections. It's like water off a duck's back. If you want to yell and you want to have a bad day, that's not my problem. I just put down the phone and pick up the next call.
That's it.
And I still today, like I say, with the Predator program, and besides the Predator program, even with people in my office, sometimes you lack motivation, right? I'm sure you have those
100%,
days. Right?
We all have those days.
I am the person that will come sit with you and be like, Josh, what are we calling today? And I'll get on the phone with you and I will psych you up.
Sure.
I'll get you excited. And so help me God, because I like get all that energy. And I'm like, I'm telling you now, we're not walking away till we're getting that listing. And not from a desperation. Because let me tell you what the biggest problem is. When you pick up the phone and you have a negative energy with you, you literally transpose that energy into the person. Because I can hear that you can't pay your rent at the end of the month. I can hear that you do not, like the desperation. I feel like people can feel that energy. And I have learned, and I don't know if it's a problem or not a problem, but I have learned to separate my personal thoughts, feelings, and emotions when I am cold calling, because I've been doing it for so long. It's like, even if, like, and again, not show emotion. So when the person reacts a specific way, I don't react a specific way. You know, before you take it personally, and like I've learned the person doesn't know you at all. They don't know you from a bar of soap. What are you on about? You know? So like I say, specifically with new agents, like when you become desperate and you sound like a second-hand car salesman over the phone, nobody's going to do business with you.
Yes.
You need to keep it professional, whether you need to meditate or go breathe or whatever it is that you need to do when you're calling. And you know what it comes down to, Josh? Actually, now that I thought about it, intention. Are you really wanting to help the person on the phone?
Yeah.
Because people can smell it, they can feel it, think about it. So over the phone is one way, right? So in somebody's voice, you can hear with, like, you know, whether there's haste or whether Chris Voss talks about this, right? Like the FBI negotiator.
Okay.
So when you come and you are trying to psych me up and I'm not psyched up, like over the phone, there's a problem with that. So you are supposed to mimic the person's energy. So you're like, if you speaking a specific tone and and then you go, and then wait till you break the ice with a person, then you psych them up. But what happens when somebody calls you and they're like, hi Josh, I'm here to sell you Vodacom airtime, and the minute you hear that Vodacom thing, you're like, I'm not interested. Because they are terribly excited to speak to you, and you're like terribly not excited to hear their voice at all.
Yeah.
And in fact, you don't even have a Vodacom phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you haven't built that connection.
Yes.
Once you've built that connection and you've built that trust, then you can sell them.
Yeah.
And what are you selling them? Your service.
Yeah. Sure. That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. Wow. I think a lot of people can benefit from what you just said.
Yeah.
And so reflecting on your journey, are there specific challenges or lessons that younger agents should be prepared for? How did you overcome those obstacles? I think you've kind of mentioned a few of those now.
The lesson that I can say is don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. I understand it's hard. I understand it's tough. But you have to believe in yourself. And it comes down to, again, will. You have to have the will and the drive and the passion to want to help people. Like your intention must be there to want that. And then, just believe that it's gonna happen. Believe that it's gonna. If you don't believe it's gonna happen, it's not gonna happen.
Sure.
Put in the hard work, and it's like that picture that people send around on the email where with a pick and the diamond, and like you are just one pick away. And I'll give you an example of that. So I'll give you an example of a lesson.
Okay, for sure.
So I was working at Harcourts, and I had been in the game for 6 months, and the only thing I could do was rentals, and it's because the person that invited me to work at Harcourts was the rental manager, and he couldn't really help me with sales. And I think I concluded about 2 or 3 deals in like the 6 months. I can't remember the exact number, to be honest, but I was good at getting listings, but the closing, again, it all comes down to cycles. But then I contacted this developer, and it was in Greenpoint, and he told me, you can list it.
Wow.
4.2 million rand for 1-bedroom apartment in 2015.
Wow.
Yes. That's mental, right?
Yes.
It was like the latest green building, like amazing. And I had sat show house after show house every Sunday. I did my drops, our training, right?
Yes,
The training,
yes.
the 10 by 10 and the this by this and the flags and the balloons and the everything.
Sure.
Like back then, Facebook was the thing. Instagram wasn't that big then in 2015, to be honest. So you would watch everyone on a Sunday, and I used to do from 2 to 5. I would watch all my friends on the beach. Everyone's always having braais, and I did it for 6 months on Sundays.
Wow.
I was determined to sell this listing.
Sure.
And then on one Sunday, I thought to myself, this is absolutely demeaning. Like in the beginning, it was okay because all the nosy neighbors wanted to come see this brand new building. They wanted to come in and come and see. And then they kind of grow bored of this on-show thing, right? Like everybody's kind of like seeing it. And I told myself, like, I almost gave up.
Wow.
So I said, actually, I wanted to give up. I was like, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock or after the morning, our morning meetings on a Monday, like I'm going to resign. Like,
Sure.
I can't do this anymore because like, what's the point in putting all this effort in? And I'm getting ready to go to work, and I get this inquiry, and this lady's like, "Hi, can I see this apartment?" I'm like, "No, you can't, because I got to go to this compulsory Monday sales meeting. There's no ways you could see this apartment now, but maybe at like 10 o'clock." So I'm like, damn, I have to like wait for my resignation now till after this, and I don't really want to go in. In any case, I want to actually go in and resign. And I thought, I'm going to go back to HR. I'm done. And I go to the sales meeting, and just shortly thereafter, I leave to go to the apartment. And this lady was from the UK. She walks in and she's like, "I want it."
Wow.
She flew in. She was scheduled to see other stuff. She's like, "I want it." I'm like, okay, that's great. That's not. Again, I don't know what to do. I call the developer. I tell him like she wants it. He says like my lawyer is in somewhere in town, some German lawyer, can't remember. And we go to his offices. We sign the contract. The attorney has the signing authority for the developer. So he signs the contract, and the contract's done.
Sure.
she's like, can I get the keys? I'm like, no. It doesn't like really work like that, right? And they're like, oh, well, if she pays the money, then she can get it right now. So she whips out her laptop and transfers 3.9 million plus the transfer cost.
Wow.
Right next to us after I was like, this is unbelievable. That we at the developer, he has all the keys, he has like the, I don't know, like electricity. And I'm like, there's your keys. And she's off back to the UK. What a crazy experience.
Wow.
Then I was hooked.
That's that pick. The diamond
that's
is
what I'm
there.
trying to tell you. That's the
amazing.
lesson. So, like, whilst that's not a great lesson to try and like give young people to say like, okay, it's not going to happen like that for you. Yeah. I'm saying don't give up because your opportunity is waiting and everybody's opportunity is different. The question is, I didn't give up, almost did.
Yeah.
And I put in the hard work though.
It's crazy though, because the universe is like weird. Like as soon as you're about to like give up, it will send you a sign that you're in the right place. Stay there. And that's what happened to you. It's sure.
Crazy,
That is crazy. And what are your future plans for both yourself and Lionlead Real Estate? Are there any exciting projects or new directions you're particularly focused on in the coming years?
So right now, I always focus on personal development. I think when I did get the opportunity to go and study, I got a bursary to study at the Graduate School of Business. One of my papers that I wrote about was like personal development. And I think it's gotten me to where I am right now. So I've never stopped learning. I don't know if you've seen that UCT Get Smarter stuff, right?
Yes. They've got that online university.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I am constantly upgrading my skills, reading new books all the time. I can give you some recommendations if you want.
Awesome. What are your favorites?
So right now I'm reading Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. Like what an incredible book. Another book that I really enjoyed was Atomic Habits. Also recently read that. And what else is there? I switch between psychology, like entrepreneurs, also like biographies. I love biographies. Lots of business books. And then stuff like Daniel Pink, Malcolm Gladwell, Seth Godin, like psychology and like thinking. So I love systems thinking. I love how humans think and behave and act, and makes me understand people better, right? I mean, that's kind of like our job, right?
That's it, eh?
So I love reading all these books, and I love self-improvement. So constantly doing little courses. I was thinking like maybe go and study an MBA, but everyone that I tell that I want to do that, they're like, why? You have a business. Like, what are you on about?
Yeah.
I think the reason why I kind of want to do it is the fact that I really enjoyed studying with the people that I studied with at UCT GSB. You create such deep connections with the people that you study with. And I'm telling you now, that course changed my life. Like, in that course specifically, it taught you, like I said, systems thinking, critical thinking, ethics, leadership. It was something that, like, because I never thought like that. And it also taught me to like do research and like, so you're saying something like, where did you get that information from? Because you could tell me something now, like, and I've become the guy. It's like, okay, so like, prove it. Don't yap stuff. I'm gonna call you out on that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all about the facts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think like definitely. Some people say, all these big founders like, no, you don't need to study, you don't need to do this. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because if you didn't know how to think in a specific way, then How? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How would you know better? And so my thing is about learning soft skills, but also some other skills too.
Amazing.
And always bettering myself.
That's the way. If you don't learn, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah.
Because the world is, especially now with
Moving
AI and everything, it's moving so fast. And if you can't learn and upgrade your skills, you could get left behind.
100%. I'm actually
Sure.
To be honest with you, the thought does scare me.
Yeah.
And then I think about where I am and what I'm doing, and then I'm not so scared.
No, you're doing well.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, Saadiq. It's been such a pleasure to listen to you and learn from you. And yeah, I just want to wish you all the best for the future. And yeah, I think Lionlead is going to take off, and it has already taken off. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cheers.